I knew something was wrong the moment the radio crackled without anyone calling my name. No static warning tone, no dispatcher voice, just a short burst, like someone had pressed the button by accident and let go. I was alone in the south wing when it happened, and no one else was supposed to be on site. I stood there longer than I should have, staring at the radio, clipped to my vest, waiting for it to crackle again. It didn't. The building was quiet in that dead way offices get after midnight, where even the air feels stale. I could hear the low hum of the HVAC and the faint ringing in my ears you get when everything else stops. Maybe it was interference. Old equipment, I told myself that. I was working overnight security at a mid-sized medical supply warehouse outside Des Moines, Iowa. Not a sketchy place. Forklifts, boxed gloves, surgical kits, that kind of thing. The job was mostly walking routes and sitting in a booth watching cameras that never changed. That night, though, I already felt off. Couldn't tell you why. I'd slept badly, had too much gas station coffee, and my boots were rubbing my heel raw. Nothing dramatic, just uncomfortable. I checked my watch. 1:47 a.m. I called in over the radio, keeping my voice neutral. South Wing, radio check. Nothing came back. That wasn't unusual either. Dispatch sometimes took a minute. Still, I clipped the radio tighter and continued my patrol. The south wing had no windows. Just long aisles of stacked pallets wrapped in plastic that crinkled slightly when the air kicked on. As I walked, my flashlight beam bounced off shrink wrap and metal shelving, making everything look warped at the edges. About halfway down the aisle, I noticed a door I didn't usually see open. It was a maintenance door that led to a small electrical room. I'd passed it 100 times. It was always locked. That night, it was cracked open maybe 2 inches. I stopped, listened. I didn't hear footsteps, no voices. Just a faint clicking sound, irregular, like someone tapping plastic against metal. I told myself maintenance must have come through earlier and forgot to shut it. That happens sometimes. People were sloppy. Still, I didn't like that the radio had gone weird right before this. I called dispatch again. Hey, South Wing, just checking on an open maintenance door. This time the radio answered, but not how it should have. A burst of static, then silence. No voice. My stomach tightened. I stepped closer to the door and angled my flashlight inside. The room was small, maybe 10 feet wide. Electrical panels on the walls. The floor was clear and no one inside, and the clicking sound stopped as soon as my light hit the room. I stood there feeling stupid for getting tense over nothing. I shut the door and made a note in my phone to mention it in the log. As I turned to leave, I noticed something else. The door didn't latch. I pushed it again, harder this time, until I heard the click. When I pulled back, it stayed shut. Get a grip, I muttered to myself. I finished the rest of my route without anything else happening. By the time I got back to the security booth, I felt calmer. The cameras all showed empty aisles. Motion sensors were quiet. False alarm. Long night. That was it. Around 3:10 a.m., dispatch finally called in. Hey, sorry about earlier. We had some interference. Everything good on your end? I hesitated, then said yes. I didn't want to sound jumpy. That's when one of the motion alerts went off. South Wing. Same aisle I'd just been in. I leaned forward, eyes on the monitor. The camera feed flickered once, then stabilized. The aisle looked empty. No movement. Dispatch asked if I needed backup. I told them no. It was probably a sensor glitch. Those happen more often than anyone admitted. Still, procedure said I had to check it. Walking back down that aisle the second time felt different. The air smelled faintly metallic now, like overheated wiring. My footsteps echoed louder than before. Halfway down, my radio crackled again. This time, I heard breathing. Not heavy, not panicked, just someone holding the button down without realizing it. Dispatch, I said. The breathing stopped. I stopped walking. Who's on the channel? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Nothing. I stood there for a full minute, flashlight fixed on the maintenance door. It was open again, wide this time. Inside, one of the electrical panels was open. Tools were laid out neatly on the floor. A backpack leaned against the wall. Not mine. I backed out slowly and didn't break eye contact with the doorway until I was clear. My heart was pounding now, loud enough that I could feel it in my throat. I called dispatch and told them someone was inside the building. I backed out slowly and didn't break eye contact with the doorway until I was clear. My heart was pounding hard enough that I had to stop and lean against a pallet, pretending to catch my breath. I called dispatch and told them someone was inside the building. This time, I didn't try to sound calm. While I waited for police, dispatch asked me to return to the security booth and stay put. I remember thinking how relieved I was to hear that. The booth felt safe, bright, controlled. When I sat down, the radio crackled again. Not static, breathing, longer this time. I didn't touch the radio, I just watched it, clipped to my vest like it might move on its own. The breathing stopped after maybe 10 seconds, but the channel never closed. The light stayed on. Dispatch came back on a moment later and asked if I was pressing the button by accident. I wasn't. Police cleared the building. Same result you'd expect. No one found. No forced entry. They said it was probably someone messing with equipment earlier and left before I noticed. After they left, I sat back down in the booth to finish the shift. That's when I noticed something on the floor. A single muddy footprint right inside the booth doorway. I hadn't left my post since dispatch told me to return. It hadn't rained inside the warehouse, and the footprint wasn't there when I came in at the start of my shift, and I would have noticed. I checked the radio log before clocking out. There were 3 times my channel was keyed. I only pressed it twice.